table for the pass rushers on the outside, right? He's a guy that closes the show. Interior pressure forces Patrick Mahomes to take his eyes off of the pass combinations and look at the rush and try and elude the rush. And then that's where you have Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, Bryce Huff, and Brandon Graham. Remember, Brandon Graham is a three-peat killer. Last time the New England Patriots was going for a three-peat, Brandon Graham closed the show with the biggest play in the Super Bowl. I look for this to be the most pivotal matchup in all the game. Yeah. Rattling Patrick Mahomes, making him run his feet so he can't go down and break down your defense.
Graham has been hurt, but it looks like he's working his way back and will play in this game. That play the ending there against the Rams in the snow, that reminded me of Aaron Donald closing out the Super Bowl against Joe Burrow.
Yes, exactly. Because he's so, listen, this is where maybe some of the things that happened for the Chiefs this season may come back to bite them, because they had to take their best interior guy and move him outside.
So Joe Tooney.
Right, Joe Tooney. So now Jalen Carter's going against a backup in Trey Smith and Kelly Endo, right? So it's going to, listen, that's going to be a lot to have to deal with. And if he can get consistent pressure, I'm telling you, I like the Philadelphia Eagles.
The one thing, Trey Smith is a veritable giant of a man.
Yes, he is.
But what's a goon to a goblin, though? What's a goon to a goblin? Because that guy he going over there is different. So I don't care how big that guy is. I'm taking
Lil Wayne reference, Green.
No, I had a feeling.
Okay, I'm just making sure my guy is right.
What you do, you just nod like you knew what it was. Yeah. And then everyone just says, "Oh, Green, you know that."
Yeah, that's right.
And then we go on.
Oh, my bad.
You don't know what's a goon to a goblin? I mean, come on. It's pretty popular song. Unless you're only listening to like banjo country music or something. All right. I wanted to highlight this because I made a clip where they kind of talked about this a little bit, but it was also on the back end of them talking about Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, et cetera, et cetera. And I really kind of like how this segment wrapped up, mainly because it was talking about some of the moves that the Kansas City Chiefs needed to do to kind of deal with their own, issues throughout the season. And this is what the great teams consistently do. Consistently do. When there is any weakness, anything that the opposing team needs to do to kind of overcome something, they need to move a player here, they have a second string player there, whatever that weakness is, the great teams know how, and they do it. They just exploit it. They just get after it, and we can go from every single Super Bowl essentially and all of these great teams and see how they did it. The most recently is Greenlaw goes down for the 49ers, and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid just get after his replacement and just feast. That's massive. That's massive. And again, we can look at this from so many different directions, offense, defense, et cetera, and I'm not saying, because right now the way how this is being discussed is kind of like, oh, Jalen Carter guaranteed to feast. I mean, would it shock anyone if the Kansas City Chiefs and Trey Smith steps up and it's huge? Like I could totally foresee a game where you're just like, man, the Eagles just cannot get to Patrick Mahomes or whatever it is, especially with Patrick Mahomes, is because right now he is, even Nick Wright himself said that this offense is very much a dink and dunk and just very quick, hike throw. And so like we could see a turbocharged version of that in the Super Bowl. Who really knows? That is always the brilliance of Andy Reid. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what is their offensive game plan. I don't think it's going to be very predictable, but if there is any weakness on that O-line, generating that pressure, really being able to attack them. If Travis Kelce really has lost a step and is no longer that true prime version of him, getting after him. DeAndre Hopkins lost a step. Hollywood Brown lost a step. Juju Smith-Schuster, hardly this next level elite player. That's where the Philadelphia Eagles defense is supposed to shine. They are supposed to get after it. It's supposed to just be like, we are better than you. We have the better pieces than you. And when it comes down to me and you and who's going to make the play, we will make the play. Like, that is what the Philadelphia Eagles have to do. And if there is that weakness, if there is that crack in the dam, you know, on the O-line or wherever it may be, it is up to the Eagles to expose. When, I forget who it was for the Buffalo Bills went down, the Kansas City Chiefs were able to attack. It matters. It really, really matters. And so, you know, if what he's saying holds truth and where he thinks it's going to be the most important matchup or the most important aspect of the game, it is 100% on Fangio and that defense to get after it, to absolutely get after it and make it be, you know, turn that crack into just an avalanche, a waterfall, you know, whatever metaphors and analogies you want to use. You know, it just has to be an avalanche. It has to just be like, this is too much to overcome. It needs to be suffocating. It can't just be kind of like, oh, a little bit here and there. Like, nah, it's gotta be, they just gotta get after it. So, that is what the great teams do. That is what the teams who win do. Right, and, you know, that is what, you know, Aaron did, you know, with the Rams on Joe Burrow. That O-line had a weakness, and they got after it. Joe Burrow sacked 7 times. 7 times in that Super Bowl, right? That was the weakness, and they got after it. They feasted. They stopped the run game. They had 79 rushing yards. So if there's any of that weakness, it's when it gets exposed. This is the Super Bowl. And you know, that's really what you're going to be looking for. You're going to look for the strengths of the Philadelphia Eagles to be able to take advantage of any of the weaknesses, because you know the Kansas City Chiefs, their strengths and any of the Philadelphia Eagles' weaknesses, you can bet with a high degree of certainty that the Chiefs will be able to expose any of the weaknesses that the Philadelphia Eagles have. Whatever that weakness you consider it to be, the Chiefs will find a way to expose it and will find a way to magnify it. And it's really up to the Eagles to be able to keep pace with that and make them pay even more, because theoretically, the Chiefs should have more weaknesses than the Philadelphia Eagles, especially if you really buy into the whole, you know, matchup, especially some of these rankings in terms of what's considered a favorable matchup versus what's not, and all of that. Like, you know, even PFF kind of goes through all of that, and the Eagles technically have more favorable matchups, and if they have more favorable matchups, then they should be able to expose those matchups. You know, again, it's always great on paper, whether it actually comes out in practice. I always say, like, you can't just go by that, because, like I always say, then gambling would be the easiest thing under the sun, and everybody would be billionaires. And actually, gambling just wouldn't exist because it would be too easy. So at the end of the day, it's going to be like, you know, do these guys get it done? Yeah, it's funny because everyone keeps highlighting these different keys and these different matchups to look for, and it's just kind of like, I don't know where I'm looking now anymore. I'm looking for AJ, I'm looking for Saquon, I'm looking for Jalen, I'm looking for Chris Jones, I'm looking for Mahomes, I'm looking for Andy, I'm looking for Spags. Like, it's just like, you know, this game's got like everything, man. It's just got everything. I just hope we get a good, clean, healthy game, and the players decide it. The players decide it. It comes down to, you know, as corny and as cliche as it is, because this typically doesn't reign true. Honestly, who wants it more? You know, that's always like something that coaches say a lot, but it's oftentimes it comes to just like, well, who's just a better team, who's prepared more, which coach has the better game plan, etc., etc. But in some of these moments, it does feel like who will want it more, who will find that extra gear to get after it, who will step up and make that play when it needs to happen, you know, who will minimize that mistake that just completely changes everything. That's what it's going to come down to. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles defense being in a position to expose or magnify any of the Kansas City Chiefs' weakness offensively, especially through that O-line. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.